what I've been doing in my business for the last 15 years, I just wasn't willing to openly call it energy. And now I'm like, I don't care what label people use. People come see me and they get what they need to move forward in their life and let go of the past. And that's what's important to me about what I do.
I love that. And with that said, thank you for tuning in. This is another episode of the LivLocal Show. Really appreciate you joining us today. I am here with Terri Wilber from Ascent Coaching and Consulting. And I couldn't be more excited. Terri is a very good friend of mine and a very special person. And so thank you for being with us today.
Thanks for inviting me.
Thank you. And so, like I said, I'm very excited. So let's go ahead and jump right in. So where did this all begin? What was the culmination of events that kind of led up to what you're doing today?
You know, it's an interesting dance that we do in life, right? Where we come full circle. When I was a kid, I wanted to be a teacher, and I also wanted to be a business owner. And I didn't know how those two things connected, right? In my mind, if you were a teacher, you worked in a school and you didn't own a business. And yet, in my 5-year-old brain, that's how it was going to work someday. And fast forward years and years later, I ended up working in personal development for a personal development company and running a 90-day leadership training program. And during one of the breaks that I took from that experience, I found the body of work that is neuro-linguistic programming and NLP. And in my very first NLP training ever, which ironically happened to be 10 years ago last weekend. And it was so cool because I was with them last weekend. So we were there when it was my 10-year anniversary, which was mind-blowing. However, in that very first NLP training, my mentor, Dr. Matt James, did a demonstration with a student that was in the workshop who was clearly having some sort of a PTSD response to 2 women who were in the class that were Muslim women. So they were wearing the traditional Muslim garb, the head wrap, the whole 9 yards. And this guy for 4 days would wait until these women, who ironically happened to be good friends of mine from Southern California, as soon as Sumira and Dina would find their seats, he would go to the farthest spot in the room he could go to be able to find his seat. And all of us knew that this was happening. We watched it like 4 days. And finally, Dr. Matt grabbed him on a break on the last day and he said, look, do you want to continue this? Like, is this serving you, or do you want to let this go? And are you willing to be a teacher in the room for everybody else to let this go? And the guy was game. So Dr. Matt put him on stage and walked him through the mental and emotional release process. And in the space of about 45 minutes, completely resolved the trigger and the negative emotions that the man was experiencing. Now, Dr. Matt was also very clear in letting us know this was a demonstration. We didn't have permission to go teach it until we'd done a lot more work.
For sure.
However, also that he didn't actually resolve the PTSD itself. He just resolved this particular trigger, and that more work than 45 minutes on the stage was going to be required. However, I watched this gentleman who was a former Marine that had been discharged. I watched him jump off the stage and walk up to these 2 women with tears in his eyes and actually ask for their forgiveness and offered an apology and said, you know, this wasn't personal, like this was something that was going on internally for me. I apologize if I made you uncomfortable. I feel free of it. Could I hug you? And they both just wrapped their arms around him and hugged him, right? And I remember being teary because my brother is a retired A-10 Warthog fighter pilot. Well, a lot of people don't know that. I come from a military family. When he came home from his second tour of duty in Afghanistan, I remember having a conversation with him. And his conversation was, I know I dropped bombs that took lives, and I'm not able to undo that. And I won't go do something about that, like go see a counselor or a psychiatrist or something like that. I just won't do that, which most military, fire, police, most people in that industry will not take advantage of those tools. And he didn't want to have to relive it. It's why he would never come do the Sci-Basic seminar. I don't want to unpack all that.
Right.
I just want to shove it in a box as far down deep into my brain as it can possibly go. Exactly. And I have personal experience of how unhealthy that is. And when I saw this technique, I knew that this was my path. I had something that would allow people to resolve those negative emotions, those limiting decisions, without having to relive the experience. And that's what really attracted me to getting into this work and doing what I've done for the last 10 years.
You know, I really can imagine that having to relive it, or the fear of that, is something that holds a lot of people back.
Absolutely. And to not, for instance, one of my clients that I've been seeing. She's an amazing woman, and she has some sexual abuse and rape in her past. And she was afraid to resolve that because she was afraid to have to relive the experience. And when I talked to her about, you don't have to sit there, this is not traditional cognitive behavioral therapy or talk therapy. You don't have to drag out all the details and tell me the whole sordid story. I don't need to know any of that. Are you willing to listen to instructions and follow instructions? Yep. Cool. That's all you have to do. And I remember as she left my office, her just crying tears of joy because she finally felt free of all of it, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
You know?
So let me ask, who are the prime candidates to work with you, to work with Ascent?
People who are suffering from something. They know they got something in the past that still has a hold of them, right? Sometimes it's hard for us to leave the past in the past. We drag it into every day with us. Wait, no, I cannot go into today without grabbing my 20-pound bag of crap to drag with me, you know? And really it's that. It's the people that have something that know in the past that has a hold of them and they want to be free. They want to let go. And resolving what we call baggage, and baggage is defined by the 5 big negative emotions: anger, sadness, fear, guilt, and or shame. Some people have a bigger hit with shame than they do guilt. And also releasing whatever limiting decision or releasing whatever limiting belief you had in the past. I'm not lovable. I'm not smart enough. I don't matter. All of those are forms of limiting beliefs that hold us back from getting what we want to get to.
For sure. What keeps you going every day?
Without a doubt, it's knowing and seeing the people who I've been a part of their growth process and seeing the extraordinary lives that they're living, even if it's watching vicariously on Facebook and just seeing what great things people are doing in their world because they don't have this thing holding them back anymore. And that's what gets me excited. That's what keeps a smile on my face and gets me motivated to go to the next step.
I love it. While you're doing that, I have to imagine there's some pretty heavy conversations, some heavy energy. How do you continue with that yourself?
You know, it's interesting because it took me a long time to figure out how much of that I was taking on myself personally, like in the process, internalizing someone else's energy. And it's kept me in this body that has been unhealthy for me for a long time with the excess weight. It's almost like it was a layer of protection. And when I finally figured that out and started using energy for myself and on myself, I've dropped 40 pounds since March.
Congratulations.
Just realizing I didn't have to, I could be a conduit without having to let the energy stop here, right? Like, oh, you're passing energy, great, let me keep moving it right on through me and somewhere else.
It creates an image in my head of like grounding, not like the foundation.
Exactly.
You're not holding it up, you're channeling it through.
Like, go somewhere else, not stopping here. This is not a stop sign.
So what is on the horizon, or what's coming up next?
Yeah, you know, I've got a couple of cool things. One of the things that I moved away from, not because it wasn't successful or rewarding, simply because when you do a lot of different things, you get excited about this new thing, right? And you get into it and you're having fun, and then sometimes we forget about some of the older things that we do, right? And one of the things that I've had great success with is we have a proven quit smoking program. That seriously, in 60 minutes or less, people leave my office a non-smoker. And it's a combination of some incredible techniques. In 10 years, I have a 96% success ratio with the clients that I've worked with. I think that's pretty freaking phenomenal. And I'm so confident about the program, I give a money back guarantee. Like, that's how I know this stuff works. So if you come and you do the program and you do exactly what I tell you to do, and then 2 months later, 3 months later, you're still a smoker, great, here's your money back. Right?
I love it. And I think I was just outed as a closet smoker there. So here's what I'm going to do.
You outed yourself.
I felt like I had to, it was there. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to do that. I'm going to do this. It's not a class, it's a program.
It's a 1 hour.
1 hour.
You got some homework to do beforehand, however, it's 1 hour and then it's gone.
Very cool. And then after I do it, I will jump back on and I'm going to talk a little bit about what that experience was and what is kind of going on for me at that time, and give you just a real life testimonial. So look forward for that. Right?
That's awesome.
What else? What excites you?
I have put together a team of people that we're going to be offering an energy workshop.
Okay.
To give people a taste of this idea that energy is all around us. We had a little bit of conversation earlier on about the fundamental part of us that is energy. And a lot of people perceive energy as something that happens externally out of our bodies. It's woo-woo or it's airy-fairy metaphysical stuff. And a lot of times people aren't willing to take a look internally and realize I am energy, period. End of story. If I was not energy, I would literally be a blob on the floor, right? Without there being energy to hold my body up, to do all the things.
Right.
So to help people connect with this energy, we're doing a workshop on October 8th called Sacred Awakening, Evolve Your Spirit, where we're going to take a deep dive into all things energy. Energy of money, energy of time, energy of action and movement, the energy that we give and take in a collaborative way in all of our relationships in life. Because you and I have a relationship. I've known you for years. For us to have a relationship, there has to be a co-creation of energy that's happening. And sometimes that energy gets stuck. Sometimes, especially this time of the year, as we move into the holidays, some people are like, oh, please, don't let me see my family over the next few, right? What if the energy dance could be different because your energy was different, right? And then we're gonna end the day with an amazing gong sound healing with this gentleman, Guthrie Coy, who is phenomenal. He calls himself a spiritual alchemist. And it's going to be mind-blowing. And then in the evening, we have an optional mala making class. And some people don't understand the process of making a mala. It's not about the piece of jewelry that you could wear around your neck or your wrist. And yes, dudes wear malas too, a lot of times. It's about the process. Tying each and every knot between each bead and setting the intention and holding the intention infuses those stones with the energy that you choose, whether that be the energy of abundance and prosperity or love or clarity and focus. However, when you're complete with the mala that you've built for yourself, it becomes an energetic trigger for you that every time you touch it, every time you wear it, every time you put it on, you're calling that energy into your body.
Very cool.
Which is super cool. So I'm looking forward to that. And my belief is, I don't want to say my hope, my belief is that it's successful enough for us to do once a quarter and give people the opportunity.
What an amazing resource for people to come get a little taste of a lot of different types of energy work, really.
Yes. And a very safe space to do something. We're going to be in a hotel room, it's a very safe environment. Like nobody's going to be out in, the back of a barn with chickens or anything like that.
We've been talking a little bit about energy, and from someone who is around a lot of different people in kind of a one-on-one context, I would say I'm just going to kind of throw a number out there, but maybe 75-80% of people do some sort of energy work. They just have different names for it, whether it's horoscopes or lucky charms or, more structured, organized church on the weekends and things like that. Everyone has their tie to it.
Absolutely.
And that's something that I think is very universal, but I think there's, at least when I hear, or my initial resistance was energy and this woo-woo we talk about, is that it's really less woo-woo than most people think.
Absolutely.
It's something that a lot of us are already practicing. We're just not maybe putting the spotlight on it.
And like you said, there's a different label. We all have different labels for everything in life, right? Some people love roller coasters and they have that experience and they call that excitement. And some people hate roller coasters and they have the exact same experience, but they label that experience fear. Same exact experience, but there's two different labels for it, right?
Can I just say I absolutely love doing this interview with you because I don't think if any of my clients are watching this, past clients watching this, I don't think a single one of you have not heard me say that at some point in the process, that we have this feeling. And I love how you just put it with roller coasters. I don't know if I've ever heard such a great example of it. We make the choice.
100%. See, the same part of our brain, the same part of our neurology gets lit up when somebody says roller coaster. Like if we put two people, if you and I, are you a roller coaster lover or not?
It depends how high it goes.
Okay, well, let's pretend you're a roller coaster lover and I'm not. If we were to put both of us in an fMRI and take an image of our brains, the exact same center in our brains is lit up, the exact same spot.
Wow.
And then an emotion happens. And when that emotion happens, we label it. And let's pretend, since you love roller coasters, you label it excitement. I label it fear. Now then what happens is we've moved from state, the emotion part, to now a physiology response. So in your body, because you've labeled it excitement, your body goes, cool, adrenaline, dopamine, let's go. And my body goes, fear, crap, cortisol, flight or fight, where can I go? How do I get out of here? You know, it's a very different response. But it starts in the exact same inception place. And it does come down to 100% decision and choice.
I love it.
What
Absolutely.
choice did I make in that moment? And that's ultimately why, like in my world, we call it cause and effect. We're all at cause for the experiences that we're having in life.
So correct me if I'm wrong, what triggers us to make that choice or that decision in that moment of is this exciting or not is some past experience or baggage, as you said earlier. And that kind of ties into the coaching and consulting.
Absolutely. And it doesn't even necessarily have to be a negative response. However, somewhere in your history, and generally under the age of 8 years old, you had some experience that you experienced that was external, that you then internalized. The only way we have of getting anything from the outside world into our minds is from our 5 senses. So either you saw something, you heard something, you felt something, occasionally smelled or tasted, however, usually it's the first 3, that you made a decision about how you felt about that thing. Whether it's roller coasters, whether it's I'm going to be smart or not, I'm creative or not, I'm a good student or I'm not, I'm athletic or I'm not. I mean, I remember being in first grade when I decided I wasn't athletic, which is hilarious because I was a dancer for 20 years. But I had a gym teacher who put everybody up in first grade on the high bar to do a chin-up. And he would put everybody up, and then they would do as many chin-ups as they could do. And he put me up, and I didn't have a good grip on the bar, and I immediately fell. And so he says, well, big 0, not athletic at all. I was in first grade. He was my gym teacher. I believed him. The prices I've paid for believing him my whole life have been crazy. But is it his fault? No. I'm the one who decided based on what I heard that that's what that meant, in spite of being a dancer for 20 years.
So
Right.
a wealth of knowledge. If anyone's interested in the Quit Smoking, in the energy workshop that's coming up, in some coaching and consulting work, how do people get in touch with you? Or how do they get more information about the
The easiest
classes?
way is to either find me on Facebook. I'm super easy to find. Terri Anderson Wilber. Wilber is spelled Wilber. Similar to the pig in Charlotte's Web, only with an E and not a U. Or you can simply go to my website, which is ascenttrainingco.com.
Love it. Thank you for joining us for this week's episode of the LivLocal Show. Terri, thank you so much for your time today and for sharing your business and just all the amazing programs and the energy that you bring. Really appreciate it.
My pleasure, Sean. I just really enjoy hanging out with you.
Oh, well, thank you. Thanks again for tuning in. If you're interested in being featured in a future episode of the LivLocal Show, reach out to me today. I'd be more than happy to set something up and take a little time, talk about your business, hear your story, and put it in a context that we can share it with the rest of the world. So thank you, and we'll see you next week.